Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you've been here before but have not subscribed yet, please do so. Along with hitting the thumbs up button for me if you enjoyed the video. I very much appreciate that. And definitely drop your comments. I'm going to be very curious to hear your comments about this particular video. I haven't dropped a purely analysis video in quite a while. If you are familiar with the channel from a couple of years ago when it first started, that's all I basically did. I kind of slowly got into doing recaps and then started doing pregame shows live, but mostly at the heart of what the Knicks-Verse was about was taking an analytical view of what is going on with the team. Lately, there's been a lot of discussion about what's happening with the Knicks in the fourth quarter. Why are we giving up leads? Why does it seem like our players are gassed? And there's a big discussion. Some people don't feel that that's a real thing, that young players should be able to play as many minutes as they can and without actually ever getting tired, without it affecting their performance on the court. Well, what I did was I had been working on this for a while, and then Tommy Beer, who I revere, he actually dropped an article this morning in this newsletter that spoke to a lot of this. So I'm going to use that as like the launching point, and then I'm going to go deeper and show you the breakdown of these numbers. I think you're going to find this fascinating. So let's go. So here we go. Basically, this is a look at the Knicks quarter by quarter. And we're going to look at, first I'm going to show you Tommy Beer's tweet, which is really interesting. It kind of sets the table for the whole thing. So he tweeted this out today. He says, Knicks assist totals by quarter this season. In the first quarter, 272. In the second quarter, 257. In the third quarter, 266th. But in the fourth quarter, it drops down to 209 assists in the fourth quarter. THIBS and his staff have to do a better job of ensuring New York maintain momentum and ball movement, even if they are ahead late in games. What that is speaking to is the whole issue that I've been talking about in my recaps as well, about the ISO ball. How we tend to stop, we move away from the ball movement, we move away from cutting, and we just basically give the ball to one guy. It's your turn, my turn between Brunson and Randall, especially in those fourth quarters. And I feel like the team ends up losing so much momentum. A lot of times the shot clock gets worn down and then the team is not taking a good quality shot. Those are my opinions. So I wanted to look at the math, look at the actual numbers in terms of what that actually meant, whether it actually was true or not. So the next part, then he followed this tweet up. This was the part one of that tweet. Part two of it said this. In the first half of games this season, New York averages 117 points per 100 possessions, which ranks fourth in the league. Fourth best in the league. In the fourth quarter of games, New York averages 108 points per 100 possessions, which ranks 25th. Now, those numbers, I double-checked them. They are totally accurate, but I went in another direction with this. Not really another direction. I just wanted to give more depth to what this means. Because, okay, you could just say, well, teams get tighter, shots start dropping. You're like, okay, well, that's possible, but then why isn't that the case for all the other teams? How do we drop from fourth overall in the first half in scoring to 25th by the fourth quarter? Well, let's get to the big stats. Here we go. So here it is. Look at this plethora of numbers, and I'm going to talk you through them all. I wish I could zoom in here and there, but I'll speak to it and try to describe it as best as possible. These are all from NBA Advanced Stats, and I broke out the minutes. If you see the first two on the column on the left, all the way to the left, closest to my face, right here, minutes for starters. For a full game, the starters have played in these first 45 games, 46 games, wherever we're at right now, 1,471 minutes, which is third most in the NBA. So the starters are playing the third most minutes in the NBA. Now, the minutes for the bench, they're playing 719 minutes. That's 21st. So there's a big disparity there. Now, when you go quarter by quarter, though, the minutes per quarter, for the first quarter, the starters are playing 414 minutes, which is third most in the NBA. Now that drops down to 329 in the second quarter, which is normal because that's when the bench, second unit, comes in, and they get primary minutes towards the end of that first quarter, and they usually start in the beginning of that second quarter, and they get about halfway, and then the starters return. Or there's a blending, a hybrid of the two. Sometimes we'll see Brunson and IQ will stay out there. RJ will come back in. We'll have some minutes with Hartenstein and Obi. And that'll be the unit. So it's a mix of starters and them. But I'm talking about the starters' minutes and breaking them out so we can see how they actually appear numbers-wise. So in the second quarter, the Knicks play the 10th most amount of minutes their starters do. The bench plays the 19th most amount of minutes. So there's an uptick from the first quarter to the second quarter, which is only natural based on the rotations. But when we go to the third quarter, and this is actually the quarter I want you guys to look at. The problem, what I took away from all this, the problem isn't necessarily the fourth quarter. It's the third quarter. The starters are playing way too many minutes in that third quarter. 415 minutes. That is the second most in the NBA. And the bench is playing the second fewest, 125. Then when you get to the fourth quarter, it's a little bit less drastic because, as you notice, sometimes in the fourth quarter, THIBS will close with IQ or Mitch gets into foul trouble. So we have Hartenstein in there. There's a lot of other factors to why the minutes distribution is a little more blended here. However, the starters are playing 289 minutes, which is 17th most in the NBA. So that's nothing crazy. And the bench are playing 251 minutes for 11th most in the NBA. So that's a nice blending there, however, right? So when you look at it. But I want you to look at the top box on the right in the orange there where it says first half starters minutes. The first half, for combining the first quarter and second quarter, the starters are playing 744 minutes total, which is first in the NBA. That's the most. So our starters are playing the most minutes in the NBA in the first half. Okay, where it's going to get interesting is these other areas that I have outlined, because those are the efficiency areas. So as we move down this, let's look at the third row, which is points. For a full game, the Knicks have scored 5,142 points, which is the 9th most, which is perfect. That's right where they are. They have the 9th best record in the NBA. In terms of their net rating, I believe they are 9th. So that's totally in line with that, right? Good. And that's good. That means they're in the top third of this association. That means it's a decent team. We're not 15th. We're not 18th, down there struggling. No, we're above the 10 line. Right there, even if we were 10th, it still would be a positive move for this team. But it's not necessarily how many points you score total. It's when you score them that actually matters a lot in terms of close games. Like as you said down there, it says, are Knicks starters really gassed in fourth quarters? Is it costing wins? Well, we've seen it with our own eyes, but now we can see the actual numbers behind it. So in the first quarter, the Knicks scored the seventh most points in the NBA, 1,312. And in the second quarter, we scored the 5th most points in the NBA, 1,344. Now that drops in the third quarter a lot. We go from 5th and 7th to 17th. We only score 1,261 points in the third quarter, and yet our starters play more minutes in that third quarter. So if I was just to look at this playing, if I was just to stop right now, I would say, all right, the problem is we're burning the starters out in the third quarter. Or actually, we're burning them out in the first half, because in the first half, they're playing the most minutes of any other starters in the NBA. So when you look at, on top of that, then they play the second most amount of minutes in the third quarter. That means that by the fourth quarter, the Knicks starters have played more minutes than any other starting units in the NBA. There you go. Now, fourth quarter points. It drops from 17th most to 20th to 1,168. So now we are below where we want to be. Okay, so now that's the points. That's how the points tell the story. Not necessarily so, but the thing is, a lot of teams, they tighten up, like we just said earlier, and they score fewer points in the fourth quarter in general. That's not an aberration. It's not something that's unusual and only specific to the Knicks. However, when you factor in the efficiency, then it starts becoming a little bit alarming. Drop to the next thing. Knicks are the best rebounding team in the NBA. Number one, they've pulled down 2,145 boards, and that's Mitch and it's Randall. Randall's been an incredible rebounder this season. And on top of that, RJ's a very good rebounder for his position. And we also have IQ, who's one of the best guard rebounders. Grimes is pretty decent at it. And then, our second unit bigs, Sims can grab a few boards. We have a good rebounding team. And obviously in offensive rebounding, we're number one. Then we go quarter by quarter, we're number one in the first quarter, 586. And then the second quarter, we drop a little bit to fourth. Now, again, that's because usually Mitch doesn't play as many minutes in the second quarter. And the same with Randall, doesn't play as many minutes, but he is still playing a lot of minutes. Remember, they're playing the most minutes. Our starters are playing the most minutes in the first half of every game. So we get 527 rebounds, which is fourth best in the second quarter. Third quarter, that drops to 477. So right there, that's it. That's a hustle stat. Why would a hustle stat take such a dip from, number one, basically, or number 4, all the way down to 12? Because guys, their legs are getting a little bit more tired. And then when we get to the fourth quarter, we have a tremendous rebound. rebound in the rebounds. 521 for third best in the NBA. I think that's a fantastic stat. I love it because it just shows the hustle that we exert. I just want to confirm this here. Yes. All right. 521 for third best. So we do have a nice, a renaissance in the fourth quarter. But also, there are more rebound opportunities. People are missing shots more. And as you'll see, when you look at the actual field goal percentages as we go down the line, this is not unusual. This is not only specific to the Knicks. All teams shoot generally worse in the fourth quarter than they do in the first and second quarters. So there's going to be more rebounding opportunities. So that's a matter of that. So I should really have pulled up the rebound percentage, but either way, this gives you an idea of what's happening here. Then we go to assists, which speaks to the whole ball movement type of issue that I have tremendously. Because the whole reason that I'm doing this is because I feel that we already have the players on this roster that can be a legitimate playoff team. A 5th seed or a 6th seed, I believe in that. And I believe that if they play better, these guys, and they have the ability to play better, they might even be able to steal a first round series. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, it may require a few interesting pieces to be added to this team, that don't disrupt the starting unit per se, but can enhance the overall roster itself, the rotation itself. Because right now we were at a 10-man rotation, then we went down to a 9-man rotation. Yeah, we went down to a 9-man rotation, and now we're really at about an 8-man rotation. If not, truly, we're actually almost at a 6-man rotation with IQ as the 6th man. He's playing way more minutes than anybody else. Hartenstein plays minutes because Mitch gets in foul trouble. Sims is gone. Obi barely plays more than 9 minutes, 10 minutes, and Deuce is down around 6 minutes. So those guys are almost like a half player. So really, we're talking about a 7.5-man rotation right now. And that is going to cost us in the long run, is my belief. That is my belief. So let's keep going. So, assists. We are down at the bottom. We're 27th in the NBA in total assists. Only 1,010 assists. And when you look at the quarter-by-quarter breakdown, it even reveals a more stark story. In the first quarter, we get off to an okay start, 272 assists, which is 23rd, ranks 23rd in the NBA. Then in the second quarter, 257, which is 25th in the NBA. Nothing great. We have an uptick in the third quarter, 266 assists in the third quarter. for 21st. So we have a little uptick. But then comes the fourth quarter. Then comes the ISO ball. Then comes the wearing the shot clock down, which means when you're about 6 seconds or less, you're basically just do whatever you can to get a shot up. It's not necessarily a quality shot. You stop moving the ball. And there you go. We are last. These are the stats that Tommy Beer tweeted out about. We are last, 30th. 209 fourth quarter assists. We are last in the NBA. It doesn't have to be that way. So we're last in the NBA and we're 20th in total points scored, where we are actually overall 9th in total points scored for a full game. So we go from 9th in a full game to 20th in the fourth quarter and in points scored, which also results in 30th in assists, 209. So we're getting the majority of our points through ISO. That's how we're getting the majority of our points, not through ball movement. And that means you have to work harder. That's what that means. The individuals have to work harder. And as those quarters tick down, things get tighter and more difficult, especially the fourth quarter. Now we'll look at the efficiency numbers. Field goal percentage. It's just right under assists there. For the full game, we shoot 45.4%, which is nothing great. 24th in the NBA. And in the first quarter, we're actually even dipped down below that, 45.2%, which is 27th. But we have an uptick in the second quarter, 46.8% for 18th. I think it's because the second unit comes in and there's more movement, there's more cutting, there's easier baskets, more fast breaks, there's more transition baskets in that second quarter. That's my feeling on it. I haven't looked at the numbers per se, but that's kind of what that's indicating to me. And especially because it's not like it's coming from the three-point shooting, because you can see just below that, the three-point shooting is at 34.8%, which is 21st in the NBA, which is a dip down from the first quarter. The first quarter we almost shoot 37%, which is 17th best in the NBA. So that takes down, but our overall field goal percentage goes up. So we're scoring more two-point shots in the second quarter in general. Now the third quarter comes around, and that is our best shooting quarter. We shoot 47% overall. Now, so does the entire NBA. The entire NBA shoots better in the third quarter because you're more in the flow of the game, you're loosened up, and then you had a little bit of rest, you come out, you fire away, and that the 47% amounts to 20th best in the NBA. But now we get down to the fourth quarter, the quarter of doom for the Knicks. We shoot 43.4%, which is second worst. We're almost down at the very, very bottom. We are at the bottom. Second worst. There it is. 43.4% for 29th best in the NBA. Terrible. And that's why we lose leads. That's why games get tight. And as we start losing leads, as we start missing buckets, then the players get even tighter and tighter. And THIBS stops trusting the rest of his players on the team. And he starts going only with Brunson, only with Randall. You know, he definitely gives RJ attention. He lets him have a few plays here and there, but it's getting fewer and fewer, especially when the game is tight. Then we get to the three-point shooting. We're still one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA, but we're also one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA in general. If it weren't for our rebounds, man, we would really be hurting. But here we go. Three-point shooting. Overall for a full game, we're shooting 33.8%, which is 25th best in the NBA, which is an uptick. Remember, as the season began, we were the worst or the second worst. Only the Lakers were worse than us for a long stretch. For like the first 20, 25 games of the season, we were either last or second to last. Now we've climbed up a little bit in three-point shooting. The first quarter is a little better. We shoot almost 37%, 36.9%, which is 17th best. And like I said before, we dropped down to 34.8% in the second quarter for 21st. And then that just keeps going down. It goes to 33.9% in the third quarter, 25th best. And in the fourth quarter, we drop below 30% for the third worst in the entire NBA. So all of our efficiency numbers are way down. They all drop way down in the fourth quarter. And it's because of what's happening in that first half of minutes with the starters and in the third quarter where the Knicks starters play 415 minutes, the second most in the NBA. Now, free throw shooting, because that's also been an issue. Remember, we're like, oh my God, if we just hit more of our free throws, we would have won the other night. Brunson hits his free throw, and who was it? Someone else missed a free throw. I think it was Randall. They hit like the first. They only hit one of two, both of them when they went to the line. They hit both of those. We win that game in regulation. So it did cost us, and there's been other games where it cost us, where Grimes missed 2 free throws late in the game. That was the Dallas game, and Brunson also missed 2 free throws. That tragedy, that Dallas game. Well, here we go. We are 19th best overall, shooting 77.8%. At one point, we were up over 80%, so we were doing much better. We have dropped a lot recently. And in the first quarter, we're shooting 76.7% for 19th best, almost similar to exactly as the full game. But in the second quarter, we have a nice uptick, 80.1%. And that's because guys like IQ and Obi, those kind of guys, they hit their free throws at a nice pace. So that's for 8th best. That's our best quarter. Third quarter, almost 80%. We're right down in the middle, 15th best in the NBA. Not bad. But then we drop almost 5 percentage points down, 4.4 actually to be exact, to 75.5%, which is 26th best in the NBA, which is 4th worst. So that's where our free throws. And that all can be attributed to fatigue. The brain gets a little foggy. You're overworked. You don't have the hand-eye coordination isn't as crisp as it was earlier. It's just reality of it. And then the final stat down here. By the way, these are all totals, mostly, except for the shooting percentages. All the other numbers are totals. These are not per game. These are totals. I should have said that earlier. So in the plus minus, total plus minus, we are a plus 132 as a team, which is 8th best in the NBA, which corresponds with the 2.9 net rating, where I think we're at 8th or 9th best in the NBA. So that's right in line with that. This shows you, there we are. We have outscored our opponents in totality over the 45 games or so, I think 45 games, 132 points total. In the first quarter, we're outscoring them by 114 points, which is 5th best in the NBA. Then in the second quarter, we're outscoring them by 62, which is also 5th best in the NBA. Interesting how that works, right? I found that stat really fascinating. And also, I just want to make 100% sure. Yeah. Actually, yes, that is correct. That's correct. 62. So, and then in the third quarter, we are a minus 27. Minus 27. So we go from 5th best in the NBA in plus minus in the first half down to minus 27. Again, why? Well, look at the top box on the right, the orange. First half starters minutes, 744, most in the NBA. So the third quarter, we come out, we're shooting a little bit better, right? But, there's right there, our rebounds take a dip. We're not getting to those loose balls. The assists, actually it's our best quarter for assists in general, 266. But the hustle stats are just not there. That's the rebound stats. And if we look at steals and all that stuff, it'll also reveal a very similar story. Now, so we're a minus 27 in that third quarter. And again, the bench players come in about, it's been changing. This is looking at the entire season also. I didn't break this out to when Deuce starting, when the rotation got limited to 9 men originally, and Cam had to sit and Fournier had to sit. I didn't just look at that. I'm looking at the entire season. Then in the fourth quarter, we are a minus 15, which is 19th best. So we are losing the second half of games by a total of 42. We're a minus 42 in the second half. Where in the first half, we are a plus 176. 176 minus 42. To me, those numbers right here in that fourth quarter, that's box right there, that to me all speaks to diminishing returns. When you overplay your very best players, they're not going to be their best selves in the fourth quarter. And there it is. That's the math showing you. You know, if I'm sure THIBS and his assistants see this, hopefully they will make adjustments. Hopefully Leon will look at this and realize, you know what, or THIBS actually, we got to get. Remember, Obi we missed Obi for a long stretch of time. But even Obi struggles to get minutes. We need to figure out a way where we have a more balanced lineup throughout the whole game. Not just in the fourth quarter. As you see in the fourth quarter, the minutes distribution is kind of even. In the second quarter, it's at 329 to 11. I think if the third quarter was more in line with kind of in between what the second quarter and the third quarter are, if we played the starters maybe around 350 minutes or so, you know, just a little bit of an uptick, just not so much, not be so heavy. We've often played Randall like solid 12 minutes, and he'll play the first 2 minutes of the second quarter, or vice versa. You know, it's sometimes we see IQ comes in the third quarter, and like with 3 minutes left, and he'll play the entire fourth quarter. So he would play 15 minutes straight. We're burning our players out. They get gassed. They don't play their best their best version of themselves, and it also suffers on defense. It suffers on the defensive end as well. Tired legs gets harder to get around screens. You know, it's just, or to rotate over in time, or to, you know, to pick up when someone's actually going to shoot, and like, you know, not to totally jump. A lot of guys jump their feet. They just jump up in the air. They can't read what's actually happening, and they make those kind of fatigue-based mistakes, and it's costing the Knicks actual wins, in my opinion. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this. I am definitely intrigued to hear your feelings about all of this. I'd want to hear your thoughts about whether this makes sense to you guys or not. But either way, I'll be looking at doing some more analytical videos. I promise to put out more of these. I enjoy it. You know, it takes some time to dig deep into this stuff. Just so you know, if you were wondering in the second half, how many minutes the starters play in comparison to the rest of the NBA? Well, in the second half, the starters play 704 minutes. Okay? 704 minutes. The first half, they play 744. In the second half, they play 704, which is sixth most in the NBA. So we do go from the most minutes played in the first half to the sixth most in the second half. But overall, our starters play the most minutes. Or actually, they play the third most minutes in the entire NBA. There we go. All right. Thank you guys for watching this. Again, my name is George. This is Into the Knicks-Verse. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Please share this video and hit the thumbs up button for me. And I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.